The gun was already pointed at my chest when I realized whose face was in that portrait. Welcome back, my friends and family. This is part 2 of our beautiful story. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I truly invite you to go back and experience the beginning of this emotional journey. But if you've already walked with us through part 1, then sit back, open your heart, and let's continue together, because what comes next will touch you even deeper. That message is from someone claiming to have seen him. We've had dozens of those over the years. People who think they saw David Collins. People who want reward money. People who are just wrong. But you didn't tell me, because I didn't want to give you hope that might be false. I've chased every lead for 3 years, Maya. Every single one ended in disappointment or danger or both. I sat back down, my legs suddenly weak. Tell me about this one. The Meadowbrook address. Rachel and Elena exchanged a look. It came through an encrypted channel, Elena said finally. Someone who knew your father's old codes. Codes that only a handful of people ever had access to. The message included details about Project Phoenix that aren't in any of the files. Things only David would know. So you think it's real? I think it's worth investigating. But Maya, if he is alive, you need to understand what that means. It means Reeves didn't kill him. It means we can bring him home. Or it means he's been hiding for 20 years. Which would mean he chose to leave. Chose to let everyone think he was dead. Including you and your mother. The words hit like a punch. I thought about my mother, dying slowly in a hospital bed. Working herself to exhaustion. Grieving for 20 years. If my father was alive and had chosen not to come back, I didn't know if I wanted to find him. Where's the address? I asked quietly. Rachel hesitated, then opened the laptop again. Pulled up a map. Meadowbrook, West Virginia. Middle of nowhere. There's a small house registered under a shell company. We traced the ownership back through 6 different entities, but the money trail eventually leads to one of your father's old accounts. One that's been inactive since his supposed death. Until 6 months ago, Elena added, when someone withdrew $5,000 cash. Could be anyone, I said. Could be someone who stole his identity. Could be. Or it could be him, finally breaking cover after 20 years. I stared at the map. Meadowbrook was a 6-hour drive. A small in the Appalachian Mountains where someone who wanted to disappear could stay disappeared. We need to go there, I said. It could be a trap, Elena warned. Reeves could have planted that information, knowing we'd chase it. Then we go carefully. But we go. Rachel nodded slowly. I was hoping you'd say that. Because I already packed. We left the motel at dawn, driving a different stolen car. Elena seemed to have an endless supply of them. The morning was gray and cold, and none of us had slept. My mind kept spinning through possibilities. If my father was alive, why hide? Why let us suffer? Was he protecting us? Or was he a coward who'd run when things got hard? I didn't know which answer I was more afraid of. The drive took us through increasingly rural country. Cities gave way to towns. Towns gave way to nothing. Just mountains and trees and roads that seemed to go nowhere. We stopped once for gas at a station that looked like it hadn't been updated since 1985. The attendant stared at us with a kind of suspicion rural people reserve for outsiders. You girls lost? He asked. Just passing through, Elena said, paying cash. He looked at the car, at us, like he was memorizing details. My face was on the news. So was Rachel's. If he recognized us, we were done. Passing through to where? He pressed. Family reunion, Rachel said smoothly. Up near Meadowbrook. Don't know any Meadowbrook. It's small. Easy to miss. He grunted, handed back the change. Roads get rough up in those mountains. Watch yourselves. We drove away quickly. He's going to call someone, I said. Probably, Elena agreed. Which means we need to move fast. The road to Meadowbrook was exactly as rough as promised. Winding, narrow, full of potholes that could swallow a tire. The GPS lost signal. We had to navigate by paper map, which Rachel read while I drove. Next left, she said. Should be a dirt road. I turned. The dirt road was more like a suggestion of a road. Trees pressed in from both sides, branches scraping the car. We climbed higher into the mountains, the world narrowing to just forest and sky. There, Rachel pointed. Through the trees I saw it. A small house. Wood siding, tin roof, chimney smoking like someone was home. My heart started hammering. We parked a quarter-mile away and approached on foot. Elena had a gun now, pulled from somewhere in her endless supply of illegal resources. Rachel carried a knife. I had nothing but fear and hope tangled together. The house looked lived in. Firewood stacked on the porch. A garden, mostly dead from the season but showing signs of recent care. An old truck parked around back. Someone's definitely here, Elena whispered. We crept closer. The windows were dirty, curtains drawn. I couldn't see inside. Elena positioned herself by the door, gun ready. Rachel and I flanked the sides. Elena knocked. 3 sharp raps. Silence. She knocked again. Hello. Anyone home? More silence. Then, from inside, a voice. Male. Rough from disuse or age. Go away. I don't want visitors. My breath caught. That voice. I knew that voice from childhood memories, from dreams, from videos I'd watched on loop. Dad! The word came out before I could stop it. The silence that followed was different, heavy with shock. Who's there? It's Maya. Maya Collins. Your daughter. I heard movement inside. Footsteps. Something falling over. Cursing. The door opened. And there he was. Older. Grayer. Thinner. Scarred along the left side of his face like he'd been burned. But unmistakably, impossibly, my father. David Collins stared at me like he was seeing a ghost. Maya, he breathed. Oh God. Maya, you shouldn't be here. Then he looked past me, saw Rachel, and his face crumbled. Rachel. Baby girl. No, you can't be here. Rachel was crying. Dad, we thought you were dead. I was supposed to be. You were all supposed to think I was dead. That was the only way to keep you safe. Safe from what? I demanded. From Reeves. We already know everything. We've seen the videos. We know what he did. My father's face went white. What videos? The security footage from the lab. The night he shot you. The fire. He shook his head slowly. That's not possible. I destroyed all the security footage. Elena saved it, Rachel said. She's been protecting it for 20 years. My father's eyes found Elena standing guard. Something passed between them. Recognition. Old pain. Elena. I told you to run. To disappear. I did. But I kept the insurance. You should have destroyed it. Now you've led them right to me. Led who? I asked. My father looked at me, and I saw real fear in his eyes. Reeves doesn't work alone, Maya. He never did. There's an entire network. Government officials. Military brass. Corporate executives. All of them making money off Phoenix. All of them with a vested interest in keeping the truth buried. We know about the weapons, I said. We know he's been selling them. It's worse than that. My father stepped back, gesturing us inside. Come in. Quickly. Before they see you. We entered the small house. It was sparse. A few pieces of furniture. A wood stove. Shelves full of notebooks and technical manuals. The walls were covered in maps and newspaper clippings. My father locked the door behind us, checked the windows. How did you find me? He asked. The encrypted message, Rachel said. 6 months ago. His face darkened. I never sent any message. The room went cold. What? Rachel pulled out her phone, showed him the communication. He read it, and his hands started shaking. This is Reeves's code. Not mine. He's been using my old protocols to send false information. But the account activity, Elena said. The money withdrawal. Wasn't me. Someone accessed that account remotely. Someone who knows my passwords. He looked up at us, his face grave. This is a trap. You were meant to find this place. As if on cue, we heard it. Helicopters. Multiple, from the sound. Getting closer. My father moved fast for someone who looked so broken. He grabbed a go bag from the closet, started stuffing notebooks inside. Out the back. Now, there's a trail through the woods. Follow it 2 miles north. There's a cave. Wait for me there. We're not leaving you, I said. You don't have a choice. If they catch you with me, they'll kill us all. At least this way, some of us might survive. The helicopters were louder now. I could see searchlights through the windows, sweeping the trees. Dad! He grabbed my shoulders, looked me in the eye. For the first time in 20 years, I was face to face with my father. I love you, Maya Bug. I always have. Everything I did was to protect you. Remember that. Then he shoved me toward the back door. Rachel was already running. Elena right behind her. I hesitated at the threshold. My father pulled a gun from a drawer. Checked the clip. His hands were steady now. Dad, please. Run. Baby. Run and don't look back. The helicopters were right overhead now. I heard vehicles approaching on the dirt road. I ran. Through the back door, into the woods, my feet pounding on fallen leaves. Behind me, I heard the front door crash open. Shouting. Commands to get on the ground. And then gunfire. I stopped, turned back. Rachel grabbed me. Keep moving. But Dad is buying us time. Don't waste it. We ran through the forest, branches whipping our faces, lungs burning. The sounds of the assault faded behind us but never quite disappeared. 2 miles felt like 20. We were gasping, bleeding from scratches, when we finally found the cave. Just a crack in the hillside, barely visible behind overgrown brush. We squeezed inside, collapsing in the dark. For long minutes, we just breathed. Then Rachel started crying. Real, broken sobs. We just found him, she gasped. We just got him back and now. We don't know what happened, Elena said, but her voice was hollow. We waited in that cave for hours, listening for helicopters, for searchers, for any sign of what had happened. My father never came. As night fell, Elena finally spoke. We need to move. Staying here makes us sitting ducks. We can't just leave him, I said. He told us to run. We have to honor that. By abandoning him, by surviving, by finishing what he started, by exposing Reeves and everyone who helped him. I looked at the cave entrance. Darkness beyond. My father was out there somewhere, dead or captured or running. I didn't know which. All I knew was I'd finally found him and lost him in the same hour. Rachel pulled out her phone. No signal, but she downloaded files before we left the motel. We have everything now, she said quietly. Both sets of files. All the evidence. The full list of Phoenix locations. Technical specs. Financial records. Everything Reeves has been hiding. Then what do we do with it? What Dad would have done if he'd had the chance. We burn it all down. Elena nodded. I know someone. A journalist who owes me. Works for the Washington Post. She's been looking for a story like this her whole career. Can't be bought. Can't be scared off. Can she be trusted? I asked. She's my daughter. That stopped me. You have a daughter? Had. Past tense, like everything else Reeves has taken from me. She thinks I'm dead. Has for 6 years. But if I contact her with something this big, she'll listen. We sat in the dark of that cave. 3 women who'd lost everything to the same man. 3 women who'd been hunted, discarded, erased. But we weren't erased anymore. We had the evidence. We had the truth. And we had nothing left to lose. So we go to Washington? I asked. We go to war, Elena corrected. Rachel was staring at her phone, at the files that could change everything. There's one problem, she said. What? These Phoenix devices. They're not just weapons. They're connected, networked. Reeves can activate them remotely, all at once if he wants. Why would he do that? She looked up at me, her face pale in the phone's glow. Because if we expose him, he has nothing left to lose. And a man with nothing to lose and 47 city-destroying weapons at his fingertips. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. If we published this story, if we went public, Reeves might decide to take the whole world down with him. The question was, could we risk staying silent? So I'm asking you, if exposing the truth might trigger global catastrophe, but staying quiet means a monster stays in power, what would you do? Would you risk everything to reveal the truth? Because Maya's about to make that choice. And the answer is going to determine whether tomorrow brings justice or apocalypse. The journalist was bleeding when we finally found her. Not a lot. Just a thin line of red trickling from her hairline where someone had pistol whipped her. She was tied to a chair in what used to be Elena's daughter's apartment, and the three men standing around her looked very interested in making her bleed more. We were supposed to be making contact. A careful, planned meeting in a public place. Instead, we'd walked into an ambush that was already in progress. Let me rewind 12 hours. We'd left the cave at dawn, hiking through backcountry until we hit a small town with a bus station. Paid cash for tickets to DC. The ride took 8 hours, and every minute I expected sirens, cops, Reeves's people. But nothing happened. We were ghosts moving through a world that didn't know we existed. Elena spent the whole ride on a burner phone, typing and deleting messages to her daughter. Sarah Chen, investigative reporter for the Washington Post. Winner of 2 Pulitzers. 34 years old and didn't know her mother was alive. What are you going to say? Rachel asked. The truth. That I'm alive. That I have the story of the century. That I need her to trust me one more time. After 6 years of thinking you're dead? Elena's hands shook slightly as she typed. I don't have a choice. She's the only journalist I trust completely. The only one who can't be bought. She hit send. We waited. 5 minutes later, the response came. Prove you're really her. Elena typed. You were 7 when you broke your arm falling from the oak tree in our backyard. I carried you 2 miles to the hospital because the car wouldn't start. You made me sing the entirety of The Little Mermaid while we walked. You still have the scar. Another wait. Longer this time. Then, Mom. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Yeah, baby. It's me. The messages flew back and forth. Shock. Anger. Questions Elena couldn't answer over text. Finally, an agreement to meet. Sarah's apartment. 9 p.m. Come alone. It's a trap, I said. Maybe. Or maybe she just needs to see me in person. Either way, you're not going alone. We arrived at Sarah's building in Georgetown at 8:30. Watched from across the street for 20 minutes. Looking for surveillance. For anything wrong. Everything looked normal. People coming and going. Lights on in apartments. No black SUVs. No obvious watchers. I'll go up, Elena said. You two wait here. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, run. Not happening, Rachel said. We stick together. We compromised. Elena would go to the door. Rachel and I would wait in the stairwell, ready to intervene. The building's security was a joke. Elena picked the lock on the front entrance in under a minute. We climbed to the 3rd floor, our footsteps echoing in the concrete stairwell. Apartment 3C. Sarah Chen's name on a label by the doorbell. Elena knocked. 3 times. A pattern. The door opened immediately. But it wasn't Sarah. It was a man. Tall, muscular, with a kind of face that had seen violence and enjoyed it. He smiled. Dr. Shaw. We've been waiting. He yanked Elena inside before she could react. Rachel and I were already moving. We hit the door together, shouldering it open before he could lock it. The apartment was chaos. Sarah was in the middle of the room, tied to a kitchen chair, tape over her mouth. Blood on her face. 2 more men flanking her, guns drawn. And standing by the window, looking out at the city like he owned it, was Jonathan Reeves. He turned when we burst in. Maya. Rachel. Thank you for joining us. We've been having such an interesting conversation with Ms. Chen here. The man who'd grabbed Elena now had a gun to her head. We were outnumbered, outgunned, and completely screwed. Let them go, I said. Reeves laughed. Actually laughed. Or what? You'll expose me? You'll go to the authorities? Please. Do tell how that works out when you're wanted fugitives and I'm a respected philanthropist. We have evidence. Evidence can be discredited. Witnesses can be unreliable. Technology can be faked. He walked toward me slowly. But here's what's real, Maya. Here's what's concrete. Your mother died 2 hours ago. The world stopped. What? Heart failure. Very sudden. The hospital tried everything, but sometimes these things just happen. His smile was poison. I'm very sorry for your loss. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Mom. Gone. Rachel grabbed my arm, holding me up. You killed her, I whispered. I did nothing. Her heart simply gave out. The stress of her daughter becoming a criminal, perhaps. The grief of losing you to this madness. Who can say? Rage flooded through me. Hot and blinding. I lunged at him. One of his men caught me, twisted my arm behind my back. Pain shot through my shoulder. Let's all calm down, Reeves said. We're going to have a civilized conversation. Then we're going to reach an agreement. And then this all goes away. Sarah was shaking her head violently, trying to speak through the tape. Reeves walked over to her, ripped the tape off roughly. She gasped. Don't listen to him. Whatever he's offering, it's a lie. Sarah, honey, you don't understand the situation. I understand you murdered David Collins. I understand you've been selling weapons disguised as clean energy. I understand my mother has been living in hiding because you tried to have her killed. Reeves's smile faded. Your mother made poor choices. As are you right now. My choice is to burn your entire empire to the ground. She looked at Elena. I already sent the files, Mom. Everything you gave me. Sent them to my editor, to 3 other journalists, to the FBI. They're already out there. Reeves went very still. When? An hour ago. Before your goons broke into my apartment. I'm not an idiot. For the first time, I saw real fear on Jonathan Reeves's face. You stupid girl. Do you have any idea what you've done? Yeah. My job. He pulled out his phone. Started typing frantically. Sir. One of his men looked uncertain. Get the helicopter. Now. We're going to the primary facility. What about them? Reeves looked at us like we were already dead. Kill them. Make it look like a murder-suicide. The fugitives broke in, killed the journalist, turned on each other. Clean it up and meet me at the facility. He walked toward the door. That's when Elena moved. She'd been standing very still, the gun still to her head. But her captor had relaxed slightly, distracted by the chaos. Elena slammed her elbow back into his ribs. He grunted, the gun wavering. She grabbed it, twisted, and suddenly she was the one holding the weapon. Nobody move, she said. But Reeves's other men were already moving. Guns coming up. Rachel shoved me to the floor as shots rang out. The apartment exploded into violence. I don't remember the next 30 seconds clearly. Just noise and chaos and the smell of gunpowder. Someone screaming. Glass breaking. My ears ringing. When the shooting stopped, one of Reeves's men was down. The other was clutching a bleeding arm. And Reeves was gone, the apartment door hanging open. Elena was bleeding from a graze on her shoulder but still standing. Rachel had tackled the wounded man, was tying him up with electrical cord. Sarah was still in the chair, eyes wide with shock. I scrambled to untie her. Are you okay? Define okay. Her hands were shaking as the ropes came off. What the hell is happening? Long story. The short version is your mom's alive, my dad might be alive, and we just declared war on a billionaire with access to weapons that could level cities. Jesus. Yeah. Elena was at the window. He's getting in a helicopter. Heading north. To the primary facility, I said. Where is that? Rachel was searching the wounded man's pockets. Pulled out a phone. Scrolled through recent messages. Upstate New York. A research campus that's supposedly been shut down for 10 years. She showed me the screen. But according to these texts, it's very much operational. And it's where the master control for all the Phoenix devices is located. Sarah was on her feet now, grabbing a laptop from a desk. If the files I sent go public, and Reeves has access to all those weapons, he'll activate them, Elena finished. Scorched earth. If he's going down, he'll take the world with him. How long until your editor publishes? I asked Sarah. She checked her phone. The story's scheduled to go live at midnight. 3 hours from now. He wanted to verify some details first, but after that, it's global. 3 hours to stop a madman from triggering 47 weapons capable of destroying cities. We need to get to that facility, I said. It's a 4-hour drive, Rachel said. We'll never make it in time. Elena looked at the bleeding man on the floor. Where are your vehicles? He stayed silent. She pressed her gun to his wounded arm. He screamed. Parking garage. Level 2. Black SUV. Keys in my jacket. We found the keys. Ran for the garage. The SUV was exactly where he said. We piled in, Elena driving like she was in a chase scene. This is insane, Sarah said from the back seat. We should call the FBI. The military. Someone. And tell them what? Rachel said. That a billionaire philanthropist is about to commit mass murder? They'll think we're crazy. And even if they believe us, by the time they mobilize, it'll be too late. So what's the plan? We just walk into a fortified research facility and politely ask him to stop. No, I said. We break in, find the master control, and shut it down before midnight. That's not a plan. That's suicide. You got a better idea? Silence. Elena was weaving through DC traffic at 90 miles an hour. Sarah, can you delay the story? Tell your editor to hold it. He won't listen. Once the clock's set, it publishes automatically. That's our protection against suppression. Then we have until midnight. Rachel, what do we know about this facility? Rachel was scrolling through the stolen phone. Former military research site. Officially decommissioned in 2014. 20 acres. Mostly underground. Security system still active. Minimal staff. But whatever's there is serious. How do we get in? I don't know. The schematics aren't on this phone. I was thinking. Dad would know. He designed Phoenix. He'd know the facility. Dad's probably dead, Maya. Or he's not. He survived once. Maybe he did again. It was desperate hope. Stupid hope. But it was all I had. My phone buzzed. The burner I'd been carrying. Unknown number. I answered. Hello. Static. Then a voice, weak and pained but unmistakable. Maya. It's me. Dad. Listen carefully. I don't have much time. They shot me but I got away. I'm heading to the facility. I know what Reeves is planning. We're heading there too. Sarah published the evidence. It goes live at midnight. He cursed. Then he'll activate Phoenix before then. We have to stop him. How do we get in? Old service entrance. East side. I can guide you once you're there. But Maya, listen. The master control has a failsafe. It requires 2 codes to activate or deactivate. I have one. Reeves has the other. So we need him alive. We need him cooperative. which means leverage. Something he wants more than revenge. What does a man like that want? My father was quiet for a moment. To live. To not go to prison. To keep his empire. In that order. So we offer him a deal? We offer him survival. But only if he shuts down Phoenix. The plan was forming. Desperate and half-baked. But it was something. Dad, where are you? About an hour from the facility. I'm hurt bad, Maya. I don't know if I'll make it. Stay alive. Please. We just found you. I can't lose you again. I love you, Maya Bug. Tell Rachel I love her too. And if this goes wrong, if we don't make it, know that everything I did was trying to protect you both. It's not going wrong. We're finishing this. Together. The call ended. I looked at the others. My dad's alive. He's heading to the facility. He knows a way in. Elena pressed the accelerator harder. We were on the highway now, heading north at speeds that would get us arrested if any cop bothered to stop us. But nobody stopped us. The universe had decided to let us run straight into hell. Sarah was typing on her laptop. I'm documenting everything. Every detail. If we die tonight, at least the story gets told. Optimistic, Rachel muttered. Realistic. This is probably the last thing I'll ever write. Might as well make it count. We drove in silence for a while. The city lights faded behind us. Darkness ahead. I thought about my mother. Dead in a hospital bed while I was running from helicopters and breaking into psychiatric facilities. I hadn't been there. Hadn't said goodbye. The guilt was crushing. But beneath the guilt was something harder. Colder. Rage. Jonathan Reeves had taken everything from me. My father. My mother. My normal life. And he'd done it without a second thought. Just business. Just progress. Well, now it was personal. We're an hour out, Elena said. Rachel was studying the facility schematics she'd pulled up on the stolen phone. This place is massive. Even with Dad's guidance, finding the control room will take time we don't have. Then we split up, I said. Dad and I go for the control room. You and Elena find Reeves. And me? Sarah asked. You document. You record. You make sure the world knows what happened here, no matter how it ends. She nodded. I can do that. My phone buzzed again. A text from my father. East entrance. 20 minutes. Be ready. We were really doing this. Breaking into a fortified facility to stop a billionaire from ending the world. The highway stretched ahead, dark and empty. Behind us, somewhere in DC, a timer was counting down to midnight. Ahead of us, in an underground facility built for weapons research, a madman was preparing to activate devices that could kill millions. And we were 4 women and 1 dying man against an empire. I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt calm. Focused. This was what my father had died for 20 years ago. What he'd been hiding for ever since. What my mother had suffered through. What Rachel had been fighting alone. Now we were together. And we were going to end this. Or die trying. There, Rachel pointed. The exit. Elena took it. We curved off the highway onto a smaller road. Then onto a dirt road. The facility appeared through the trees. Chain link fence. Guard towers. Buildings that looked abandoned but weren't. Kill the lights, I said. Elena cut the headlights. We coasted to a stop a quarter mile from the fence. The facility was lit up. Not abandoned at all. People moving inside. Vehicles in the lot. Helicopters on a landing pad. He's already here, Rachel said. Then so are we. We got out of the SUV. The night air was cold. Somewhere in the distance, I heard my father's voice. East entrance. Now. We moved through the darkness. And as we approached that fence, as we prepared to cross a line we could never uncross, I realized something. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't even about justice. It was about making sure no one else lost what we'd lost. making sure no more daughters grew up without fathers. No more mothers died alone. It was about being the people my father had wanted us to be. The people who stood up when everyone else ran. So here's my question for you. If you knew the next hour would determine the fate of millions, and your only weapons were courage and determination, would you keep going? Or would fear win? Because Maya's about to find out. The facility is crawling with armed guards. Her father is dying somewhere inside. And in less than an hour, either they stop Reeves or the world burns. The clock is ticking. And everything comes down to what happens next. The betrayal came from the person I trusted most. I was standing in front of the master control panel, my father bleeding out beside me, when Rachel pointed her gun at my head and said, "Step away from the console, Maya." Everything that led to that moment happened fast. Too fast. We'd made it through the east entrance exactly like my father said. An old maintenance tunnel, rusted and forgotten, that led directly into the facility's lower levels. No guards. No cameras. Just darkness and the smell of concrete and decay. My father was waiting inside, propped against a wall, his shirt soaked with blood. The bullet wound in his side was bad. Real bad. But his eyes were clear. Maya. Rachel. He smiled weakly. My girls. Together. Rachel helped him stand while I kept watch. Elena and Sarah stayed at the entrance, ready to cover our escape. The control room is 3 floors up, my father said, wincing with each word. Central hub. Reeves will be there. He has to enter his code in person. The system requires biometric verification. So we get there first, I said. Lock him out. Can't. It needs both codes. Mine and his. Entered within 60 seconds of each other, or the system locks down permanently. Then we force him to cooperate. My father nodded. That's the plan. But Maya, if it goes wrong, if we can't stop the activation, there's a manual override. A physical kill switch. It's in the main reactor core, 2 floors below the control room. What happens if we pull it? The entire Phoenix network goes dark. Permanently. Every device becomes useless. It'll save millions of lives. But it'll also destroy 20 years of research. All the good Phoenix could do, all the clean energy it could provide, gone forever. That's not exactly a tough choice, Dad. He looked at me sadly. Isn't it? Your father spent his life trying to give free energy to the world. Destroying that legacy is harder than you think. We moved through the facility like ghosts. The layout was industrial. Concrete floors, flickering fluorescent lights, pipes running along the ceiling. We passed rooms full of equipment I didn't recognize. Laboratories. Storage areas. Everything covered in dust except for the areas that were clearly still in use. We took a service stairwell up. Each step made my father groan, but he kept moving. 2nd floor. 3rd floor. That's when we heard voices above us. I held up a hand. We froze. Confirmed. All 47 devices are armed and ready. Just waiting for final authorization. And the timer? Set for 11:59 p.m. 1 minute before the story goes public. When the world finds out, the devices activate automatically. Cities burn. Governments collapse. And in the chaos, we disappear. Reeves's voice. Cold and matter-of-fact, like he was discussing a business merger. What about loose ends? The Collins sisters and Dr. Shaw are being hunted as we speak. They won't make it out of the facility. Neither will that journalist. Clean sweep. No witnesses. My blood ran cold. Rachel's face had gone pale. He's really going to do it. Kill millions of people just to cover his tracks. Not if we stop him, my father said. We climbed the last flight of stairs. The control room door was at the end of a long hallway. 2 armed guards stationed outside. I'll handle them, Rachel whispered. Before I could object, she was moving. Fast and silent. She came up behind the first guard, wrapped her arm around his throat, and dropped him before he could shout. The second guard turned, reaching for his weapon, but Rachel was already there. A brutal strike to the temple. He went down hard. Where did you learn that? I asked. 3 months in a psychiatric facility teaches you things. Orderlies aren't always gentle. We dragged the unconscious guards into a side room, took their key cards and weapons. My father swiped the card. The control room door clicked open. The room inside was all screens and blinking lights. Keyboards and monitors showing maps of the world with red dots marking each Phoenix device location. A central console with 2 input stations side by side. And standing in front of it, looking unsurprised to see us, was Jonathan Reeves. David, you're harder to kill than I expected. So are my daughters. Reeves smiled. Clearly, though I'm impressed you all made it this far. Security must be slipping. Or you wanted us here, Rachel said, her gun trained on him. Smart girl. Yes, I wanted you here. Because here's the thing about the Phoenix failsafe. It can't be overridden remotely. Can't be hacked. The only way to stop the activation is for both of us to enter our codes. He looked at my father. And you're going to do exactly that. Why would I help you? Reeves pulled out his phone. Showed us the screen. It was a live video feed. Elena and Sarah, tied up in what looked like a basement. Armed men standing over them. Because if you don't, they die. Right now. While you watch. My father's face went white. You're bluffing, I said. You need us. You need the codes. I need David's code. You 3 are expendable. He gestured to the console. Enter it now, or I make a phone call and your friends become spare parts. Don't do it, Dad, Rachel said. He'll kill them anyway. Maybe. But this way they have a chance. My father limped to the console. His hands shook as he positioned them over the keypad. Dad, please. I'm sorry, Maya. But I can't watch more people die because of me. He entered the code. A series of numbers and letters. The console beeped. One side of the activation sequence turned green. Good man, Reeves said. He moved to the other console. Now we wait 60 seconds. If I don't enter my code, the system locks and your friends still die. If I do enter it, the activation is cancelled and everyone walks away. You're lying, I said. The moment you enter that code, Phoenix activates. Cities burn. You've already decided. Have I? He looked genuinely amused. Maybe I'm just buying time. Maybe I actually intend to cancel the activation. You don't know. That's the beauty of this situation. You're completely at my mercy. The countdown timer appeared on the main screen. 60 seconds. 59. 58. Rachel's gun was still pointed at Reeves, but her hands were shaking. Enter the code. Cancel it. Or what? You'll shoot me? Then my code never gets entered and the system locks. Elena and Sarah die. The story publishes. Phoenix activates automatically. Everyone loses. There's always a choice, my father said quietly. Is there? I don't see one. 45 seconds. I was thinking frantically. There had to be a way out. Some option we weren't seeing. The manual override, I said. Dad mentioned it. The kill switch in the reactor core. Reeves laughed. You mean the switch that's guarded by 12 armed men and located through a blast door that takes 5 minutes to open? You think you can get there in 40 seconds? 35 seconds. What do you want, Reeves? My father asked. Really want? There has to be something. I want what I've always wanted. Progress. Power. A legacy that matters. But you've taken that from me, David. You and your daughters. So now I want you to suffer. I want you to watch the world burn knowing you could have stopped it. 20 seconds. That's when Rachel moved. Not toward Reeves. Toward me. She grabbed my arm, yanked me away from the console. Rachel, what are you? And she pointed the gun at my head. Step away from the console, Maya. Everything stopped. My brain couldn't process what was happening. Rachel. I'm sorry, she said, and she actually sounded sorry. But this is bigger than us. Bigger than family. Reeves was smiling now. Actually smiling. I was wondering when you'd make your move. You knew. I couldn't breathe. Of course I knew. Rachel's been working with me for 6 months. How do you think I always knew where you'd be? How I got that message to you at the internet cafe? How I knew about every plan before you made it? Rachel's eyes were wet, but her gun hand was steady. He offered me a deal, Maya. A way to actually use Phoenix for good. Not destroy it. Not weaponize it. Actually give free energy to the world like Dad wanted. By threatening to kill millions first? I shouted. By showing the world what Phoenix can do. Demonstrating its power. Then offering it as salvation. He's not going to activate all the devices. Just one. Just enough to prove the threat is real. You're insane. You're both insane. I'm practical, Reeves said. One city. Call it a demonstration. Then I offer Phoenix technology to governments worldwide for free. Become a hero instead of a villain. And your sister here gets to run the foundation that distributes it. The Collins Foundation. A fitting legacy for your father. 10 seconds. My father was staring at Rachel like she'd stabbed him. Baby girl. What have you done? What you should have done 20 years ago. I made a deal. I saved us. By becoming him? By being smart. 5 seconds. Reeves's fingers hovered over his console. Any last words, David? Before I reshape the world. My father looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes. A decision. Maya. The reactor core. 2 floors down. Blue door. Code is your birthday. Run. Dad, no. Run. He lunged at Reeves. The timer hit 0. Reeves's hand came down on the keys. But my father crashed into him mid-entry. They went down together, a tangle of limbs and violence. The console beeped error. Incomplete code sequence. Lockdown initiated. Alarms started blaring. Rachel screamed. No. What did you do? The screens all turned red. Warning. Manual override required within 5 minutes or automatic activation proceeds. 5 minutes. That's all we had. My father was on the ground, Reeves on top of him, hands around his throat. Rachel was frozen, the gun shaking in her hands. I ran. Out of the control room, down the hallway, toward the stairs. The facility was going crazy around me. Guards running. Sirens wailing. I hit the stairwell and went down. 2 floors. My legs burning. My lungs screaming. Blue door. My father had said blue door. There. At the end of a corridor. A heavy door painted blue with a security keypad. I entered my birthday. The lock clicked. I yanked the door open. The reactor core was a massive room filled with equipment I didn't understand. In the center, a cylindrical structure 3 stories tall, glowing with an eerie blue light. And in front of it, a simple lever. Red handle. Yellow warning signs all around it. Manual override. Pull only in emergency. Disqualified. I ran toward it. That's when the bullet hit the wall next to my head. I dove behind a support column. More shots. Someone was shooting at me. I peeked out. Saw a figure in the doorway. Rachel. She was crying as she aimed at me. I'm sorry, Maya. I really am. But I can't let you destroy this. It's too important. Rachel, please. Dad was wrong. He was always wrong. Phoenix can save the world. But only if it exists. It's a weapon. It's a tool. Tools aren't good or evil. People are. And I'm going to make sure it's used right. She fired again. I ran deeper into the room, using equipment as cover. The override lever was 20 feet away. Might as well have been a mile. The timer on the wall showed 3 minutes. You can't reach it, Rachel shouted. Give up. Let it happen. One city. Maya. That's all. One city to save the world. Which city? I screamed back. Who decides who dies? Reeves has already chosen. Somewhere remote. Minimal casualties. It's the best option. There is no best option. This is murder. This is revolution. 2 minutes. I made a decision. I stood up. Walked into the open. Rachel's gun tracked me. Don't make me shoot you. Then don't. You're my sister, Rachel. My family. Please. Don't do this. I'm doing this because you're my family. Because Dad's legacy deserves better than being buried. Dad's legacy is us. Standing up for what's right even when it's hard. 1 minute. Rachel's finger was on the trigger. Tears streaming down her face. I love you, Maya. But I love the world more. She pulled the trigger. The gun clicked empty. She'd forgotten to check the magazine. Or maybe, deep down, she'd wanted to miss. I didn't wait to find out. I ran for the override. Rachel threw the gun aside and chased me. We reached the lever together. 30 seconds. We fought. Hands grasping. Nails scratching. 2 sisters trying to kill each other to save the world in different ways. 20 seconds. Rachel was stronger. She shoved me back. Got her hands on the lever. But she was pulling it up. Trying to stop me from pulling it down. 10 seconds. Please, I begged. Please don't do this. She looked at me. Really looked. And something broke in her eyes. I'm sorry, she whispered. And she let go. I yanked the lever down with everything I had. The world went white. A sound like thunder. The entire facility shook. The blue glow in the reactor core died. Every screen went dark. The alarms cut off mid-wail. Silence. Then, slowly, emergency lights kicked on. Red and dim. I was on my knees, gasping. Rachel was beside me, sobbing. On the wall, the timer had frozen at 0:03. 3 seconds. We'd had 3 seconds left. It's done, I said. It's over. Rachel didn't answer. Just cried. I pulled her into a hug. She fought it for a second, then collapsed against me. I thought I was doing the right thing, she said into my shoulder. Reeves said we could change everything. That Dad's work wouldn't be wasted. Dad's work was trying to do good without becoming evil. You forgot that part. I know. God, I know. What have I done? We sat there in the emergency lighting. 2 sisters who'd almost destroyed each other. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Multiple people running. Elena appeared in the doorway, Sarah behind her. Both free somehow. Maya! We heard the alarm. Elena stopped. Is it shut down? I nodded. It's done. Phoenix is dead. And Reeves? I don't know. Dad was fighting him when I ran. We left the reactor core and headed back upstairs. Every step felt like walking through a tomb. The facility was dead. No power except emergency lights. Guards wandering confused. The control room door was open. Inside, we found my father. He was lying on the floor, Reeves beside him. Both still. Both bloody. I ran to my father. Pressed my fingers to his throat. A pulse. Weak but there. Dad. Dad, wake up. His eyes fluttered open. Focused on me. Did you pull it? I pulled it. Phoenix is offline. All of them. He smiled. Actually smiled. Blood on his teeth. Good girl. I'm so proud of you. Don't talk. We'll get you help. You're going to be okay. No, I'm not. But that's okay. I got to see you one more time. Got to see you be everything I hoped you'd be. Tears were streaming down my face. You can't leave. Not again. Please. Tell your mother I'm sorry. Tell her I loved her every day. Mom's gone, Dad. She died. His face crumpled. No. No, she can't. She thought you were dead. She grieved for 20 years. And then she died alone. He was crying now too. I was trying to protect her. To protect you both. I thought if you didn't know I was alive, you'd be safe. We were never safe. Just alone. His hand found mine. Squeezed weakly. Then I failed you. I failed everyone. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You didn't fail. You tried. You fought. That's all we can do. His breathing was getting shallow. Each breath a struggle. Maya. One more thing. The courtroom smelled like old wood and lies. I was sitting in the witness box, facing a jury of 12 people who would decide if I was a hero or a terrorist, when the prosecutor held up a photograph that made my blood run cold. It was my mother. Alive. Taken 3 days ago. Everything I thought I knew shattered in that moment. But let me back up 6 weeks. My father died in my arms on that facility floor. His last words were, "The backup drive. Under the floorboards in my cabin. Everything Reeves doesn't want found. Use it." Then he was gone. We didn't have time to grieve. The facility was swarming with security, and we were still wanted fugitives. Elena got us out through the maintenance tunnel while Sarah documented everything on her phone. Reeves was unconscious but alive. My father had fought hard enough to buy us time, but not hard enough to finish him. We made it to the highway just as police cars screamed toward the facility. Drove all night back to DC, expecting to be arrested at any moment. Instead, at midnight exactly, Sarah's story went live. Billionaire arms dealer. How Jonathan Reeves sold weapons disguised as clean energy. The world exploded. Within hours, every news outlet on the planet was covering it. The Washington Post servers crashed from traffic. Sarah's name trended worldwide. The evidence she'd published, videos, documents, technical specs, was irrefutable. By morning, federal agents had raided the facility. Reeves was in custody. His empire was collapsing. And we were suddenly famous. Not the good kind of famous. The complicated kind. Some called us whistleblowers. Heroes who'd exposed a decades-long conspiracy. Others called us terrorists. Criminals who'd broken into secure facilities, assaulted guards, and destroyed billions in research. The truth, as always, was somewhere in between. We turned ourselves in 3 days later. Walked into FBI headquarters in DC and surrendered. They arrested us on the spot. Breaking and entering. Assault. Destruction of property. The list went on. But we had something they wanted. The truth. We spent 2 weeks in federal custody, telling our story over and over. Every detail. Every crime. Every moment that led us from a portrait on a wall to the shutdown of a global weapons network. The prosecutors offered deals. Testify against Reeves. Get reduced sentences. Maybe even immunity. We took them. Which is how I ended up in that courtroom 6 weeks later, testifying at the trial of the century. Jonathan Reeves sat at the defense table looking smaller than I remembered. His expensive suit couldn't hide the fact that he was a broken man. His company was bankrupt. His assets frozen. His reputation destroyed. But he still had the best lawyers money could buy. And they were very, very good. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Andrea Moss, had been walking me through the timeline. The portrait. The USB drive. The videos. Everything building toward the moment we shut down Phoenix. Then she asked the question that changed everything. Ms. Collins, your testimony states that your mother, Margaret Collins, died on the night of the facility break-in. Is that correct? Yes. Reeves told me she died. Heart failure. And you believed him? Why wouldn't I? She was sick. She'd been dying for years. Did you see the body? I hesitated. No. I was running for my life at the time. Did you attend a funeral? There hasn't been one yet. We've been in custody. Andrea nodded. That makes sense. She walked to the evidence table. Your Honor, I'd like to enter Exhibit 247. The judge nodded. Proceed. Andrea held up a photograph. Projected it on the screen for the jury. My mother. Gray hair. Thin face. Sitting in what looked like a hospital room. But not dead. Very much alive. And the date stamp on the photo was from 3 days ago. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel. The defense attorneys were on their feet objecting. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. That's not possible, I whispered. Ms. Collins, do you recognize this woman? That's my mother. But she's dead, Reeves said. Mr. Reeves said a lot of things. Most of them lies. Andrea turned to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, Margaret Collins is alive and in protective custody. She has been for 6 weeks. Because the night of the alleged break-in, federal agents moved her to a secure location based on credible threats to her life. I was shaking. Where is she? I want to see her. You will. But first, I need you to understand something. Your mother made a statement. A sworn affidavit. And what she says contradicts significant portions of your testimony. What are you talking about? Andrea pulled out a document. According to Margaret Collins, your father didn't die 20 years ago in a laboratory fire. He faked his death with her knowledge and cooperation. She's known he was alive this entire time. The world tilted. That's insane. She told me he was dead. She grieved. She performed grief. To protect you. To keep you from searching for him and putting yourself in danger. My mind was racing. Every conversation with my mother. Every time she'd shut down my questions about Dad. Every warning to let the past stay buried. Had she been lying the whole time? Furthermore, Andrea continued, Margaret Collins states that you knew about Project Phoenix before entering that restaurant. That you deliberately sought employment there to gain access to Jonathan Reeves. What? No. I was just a waitress. Were you? Or were you working with your father and sister in a coordinated effort to destroy Reeves Corporation? I didn't even know I had a sister. The defense attorney stood. Objection. The prosecution is badgering her own witness. Sustained. Ms. Moss, where are you going with this? Andrea looked at me with something like pity. Your Honor, new evidence has come to light that suggests this entire case may have been orchestrated. That Maya Collins, Rachel Collins, and David Collins planned the destruction of Phoenix not to prevent a terrorist attack, but to eliminate commercial competition. Competition for what? I demanded. She pulled out another document. David Collins filed a patent 3 years ago. A solar energy system that rivals Phoenix. Kept secret under a shell company. When Reeves discovered it, he attempted to buy the patent. David refused. So David allegedly decided to destroy Reeves's version and position himself to fill the market vacuum. I was on my feet. My father died trying to stop Reeves. He was shot. Was he? Or did he shoot himself to create a convincing narrative? Federal investigators found powder residue on his hands consistent with firing the weapon found at the scene. He was defending himself, or creating evidence. Ms. Collins, the story you've told is compelling, but it has holes. Convenient coincidences, perfect timing, and a dead man who can't contradict any of it. I looked at Rachel in the gallery. She looked as shocked as I felt. Then I looked at Elena, and I saw something in her face. Guilt. Elena, I said. Tell them the truth. She stood slowly. Maya, I'm sorry. But there are things your father didn't tell you. Things he kept secret even from me until the end. What things? The prosecutor nodded at Elena. Dr. Shaw has agreed to testify for the defense in exchange for immunity. Would you like to tell Ms. Collins what you told us? Elena's voice was barely a whisper. Your father didn't want to destroy Phoenix to save lives, Maya. He wanted to destroy it because it was based on his original research. Research Reeves stole. David spent 20 years building a better version. But he couldn't bring it to market while Phoenix existed. The patents conflicted. The technology overlapped. So he needed Phoenix gone. No, that's not true. He told me. He told you what you needed to hear to help him. That's what he did. He manipulated all of us. Me. Your mother. Rachel. You. All pieces on his chessboard. I sat down hard. The courtroom was spinning. The evidence supports Dr. Shaw's testimony, Andrea said. David Collins's new patent is worth billions. With Phoenix destroyed and Reeves discredited, there's no competition. Rachel Collins is listed as co-inventor on the patent. Upon David's death, she inherits everything. I looked at my sister. Did you know? Rachel's face was pale. Not until last week. The lawyers told me about the patent. About Dad's company. Maya. I swear I didn't know while we were destroying a man's life, while we were stopping a terrorist attack. That's what we thought we were doing. But what if we were wrong? The question came from the judge. He was looking at me with something like sympathy. Ms. Collins, I've read all the evidence, watched all the videos, and I keep coming back to one question. How do we know the threat was real? How do we know Reeves was actually going to activate those weapons? Because he said so. We heard him. You heard a man under extreme duress say things that might have been exaggeration, might have been negotiation tactics. The fact is, he never actually entered the final code, never actually activated Phoenix. Your father stopped him before he could, because he was going to, or because David needed everyone to think he was going to, needed to justify destroying Phoenix to eliminate his competition. I felt sick. I watched Reeves murder my father on video, 20 years ago. You watched a grainy security video that could have been staged. David Collins was a brilliant engineer. Faking that footage wouldn't have been difficult. The burn scars on his face. The bullet wound. Self-inflicted or inflicted by an accomplice to sell the story. Ms. Collins, I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying you might have been lied to. Used. And now we're all trying to figure out what the truth actually is. The courtroom doors opened. A woman was wheeled in. Oxygen tubes in her nose. Thin and frail but very much alive. My mother. Our eyes met across the courtroom. She looked sad. Guilty. But not surprised. Mom. My voice cracked. I'm sorry, baby, she said. I'm so sorry. But you need to hear the truth. The judge nodded. Mrs. Collins, you're under oath. Tell us what happened 20 years ago. My mother took a shaky breath. David didn't die in that fire. He said it himself. He wanted out. Wanted to escape Reeves and start over. I helped him. We planned it together. The body they found was a homeless man David had hired as a lab assistant. Poor man was unconscious from a sedative when the fire started. David didn't mean to kill him, but he did. I couldn't process what I was hearing. David went into hiding. I raised Maya alone. We agreed it was safer if she didn't know. If no one knew. But David never stopped working. Never stopped planning. And 3 years ago, he contacted me. Said he'd perfected Phoenix. Made it better. Safer. And he needed Rachel's help to bring down Reeves so he could finally bring his work to the world. Rachel knew. I looked at my sister. Rachel was crying. Not about all of it. Dad contacted me 2 years ago. Said Reeves had stolen his research. That we needed to expose him. He showed me evidence. Videos. Documents. Everything seemed real. I thought we were doing the right thing. And Maya? The judge asked my mother. Maya was insurance. David knew if things went wrong, if Rachel got caught or killed, he needed another daughter. Another piece on the board. So he created the portrait. Made sure it would be visible from the restaurant. Knew eventually Maya would see it. Would start asking questions. And once she did, Elena would guide her. I looked at Elena. You knew. Not everything. But enough. David asked me to watch over you. To help when the time came. I thought I was protecting you. Instead, I was delivering you to him. Every moment of the last 6 weeks replayed in my mind. Every coincidence. Every convenient piece of evidence. Every perfectly timed revelation. It had all been orchestrated. My father hadn't been a victim. He'd been a master manipulator. And I'd been his weapon. So what was real? I asked quietly. Was any of it real? My mother wheeled closer. His love for you was real. Everything else was chess. And Reeves? Was he actually going to activate Phoenix? The defense attorney stood. That's the question, isn't it? My client maintains he was bluffing, trying to negotiate under duress. He had no intention of hurting anyone. But David Collins convinced you all he was a monster. Used that fear to justify destroying billions in research and technology. 47 devices, I said. In 12 countries. That's not a bluff. It's also not a crime unless they're activated. Mr. Reeves designed a power system. Some clients chose to explore military applications, yes. But that doesn't make him a mass murderer. It makes him a businessman operating in a complicated world. My head was pounding. Truth and lies were mixing together until I couldn't tell which was which. What about the video? I demanded. The one of Reeves shooting my father? Staged, the prosecutor said. Investigators analyzed it. The angles are wrong. The blood spatter doesn't match ballistics. It was created to look real, but it's not. So my father isn't dead? Oh, he's dead. But he died 6 weeks ago in that facility. Before that, he was very much alive and running a long con. I sat there in the witness box, my entire reality crumbling. The prosecutor looked at me with something almost like kindness. Ms. Collins, I believe you're a victim here. I believe you thought you were doing the right thing. But the truth is more complicated than heroes and villains. Sometimes good people do terrible things for reasons that seem justified. And sometimes the monsters we fight are mirrors. So what happens now? I asked. Now we figure out who's actually guilty and of what. Your testimony has been helpful, but it's also been compromised by false information. We'll need to verify everything independently. The judge banged his gavel. We'll take a recess. Reconvene tomorrow at 9 a.m. Guards came to escort me back to the holding cell. As I passed my mother, she reached for my hand. I pulled away. Maya, please. Don't. Just don't. In the holding cell, Rachel was waiting. They'd brought her in through a different entrance. We sat on opposite benches, not talking. Finally, she said, "We were pawns." Yeah. Everything we did, everything we risked, it was his plan all along. Yeah. I don't know how to feel about that. I looked at my sister. Really looked. We'd been through hell together. Fought together. Nearly died together. And we'd been played the entire time. Do you think Reeves was really going to activate Phoenix? I asked. I don't know anymore. Maybe. Maybe not. Does it matter? Of course it matters. If he wasn't, then we destroyed an innocent man's life. Reeves isn't innocent, Maya. Even if Phoenix was just power systems, he was still selling weapons tech. Still making billions off military contracts. Still covering up Dad's murder, or what we thought was murder. So he deserved what we did. I don't know. I thought I knew. Now I don't know anything. The cell door opened. A guard stepped in. Collins. Maya Collins. You have a visitor. Who? Wouldn't say. Just that it's urgent. They led me to a small interview room. A man was waiting. 50s, gray suit. The kind of face that had seen too much and believed too little. Ms. Collins. I'm Detective James Morrison. I've been investigating your father's activities for the past 3 years. What do you want? To offer you a way out of this mess. But you're going to have to trust me. And you're going to have to do something very difficult. What? He slid a folder across the table. Testify that everything you said was a lie. That you knew about the patent. That you and Rachel deliberately destroyed Phoenix for financial gain. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, the prosecution is going to paint your father as a saint and Reeves as a demon. And the truth is going to stay buried. But if you flip, if you admit to conspiracy, We can reopen the investigation into what really happened 20 years ago, into who that body in the fire really was, into all the things your father did that nobody's been willing to look at. You want me to take the fall. I want you to tell a different truth. One that might actually lead to justice instead of just revenge. I opened the folder. Inside were photographs. Crime scene photos from 20 years ago. The burnt laboratory. A charred body. And DNA results. Recent ones. The body wasn't a homeless man. It was a woman. 20s. Pregnant. I felt. I was standing in front of my father's grave when I finally understood what he'd really done. The headstone was simple. David Collins. Beloved father. Visionary. The dates carved beneath were lies. But then again, everything about him had been. It was 6 months after the trial. 6 months since the world learned the truth. Or at least, a version of it. The verdict had been complicated. Reeves got 12 years for weapons trafficking and corporate fraud. Not murder, because we couldn't prove he'd killed anyone. The body in the fire had belonged to Jennifer Martinez, a research assistant who'd been having an affair with my father. 23 years old. 5 months pregnant with his child. My father hadn't just faked his death. He'd murdered a woman and her unborn baby to do it. That revelation had changed everything. Rachel and I both testified against him in absentia. Against his memory. Against the man we'd thought was a hero. The patent for his improved Phoenix design was seized by the government. His assets frozen. His legacy destroyed. We walked free. Reduced sentences for cooperating. 2 years probation and community service. But freedom didn't feel like I thought it would. I placed flowers on the grave. White roses. Not because I loved him, but because I needed closure. You really screwed us all, didn't you, Dad? The wind rustled through the cemetery trees. No answer. Dead men don't talk back. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. You at the cemetery? Yeah. I'm 5 minutes away. Don't leave. I sat on a bench near the grave and waited. The cemetery was empty except for a groundskeeper in the distance and a woman visiting someone 3 rows over. 6 months. Half a year since my world had turned inside out. I'd spent that time trying to put the pieces together. Trying to figure out who my father really was. Monster or victim. Genius or madman. The truth was he'd been all of it. And none of it. People aren't simple. We want them to be. Want clear heroes and villains. But real people are messy. Contradictory. Capable of love and murder in the same breath. My father had loved me. I believed that. But he'd also used me. Manipulated me. Turned me into a weapon against a man who maybe deserved it and maybe didn't. That ambiguity haunted me. Rachel's car pulled up. She got out, looking better than the last time I'd seen her. Healthier. She'd been in therapy. So had I. We needed it. She sat beside me on the bench. Hey. Hey. For a minute, we just sat there. 2 sisters brought together by lies and bound by trauma. Mom wants to see us, Rachel said finally. I know. She's been calling. You going to answer? I don't know. Are you? Rachel shrugged. She's dying for real this time. Doctors give her maybe 6 months. Part of me thinks she deserves to die alone after what she helped him do. But part of me remembers she's still our mother. The mother who lied to us our entire lives. Yeah, that one. We sat in silence. The weight of impossible choices pressing down. I got a job offer, Rachel said. Teaching physics at a community college in Oregon. Far away from all this. You going to take it? I think so. I need to start over. Be someone other than the woman who almost helped a billionaire destroy cities. You didn't know what you were doing, didn't I? I made a deal with Reeves, Maya. I chose to believe his version because it was easier than facing the truth about Dad. That makes me complicit. It makes you human. She looked at me. What about you? What's next? I'd been thinking about that a lot. What do you do after your entire life gets exposed as a lie? How do you rebuild when the foundation was rotten from the start? Sarah offered me a job. Research assistant at the Post. Helping investigate corporate corruption cases. She thinks I have a skill for seeing through bullshit. Learned from the best. Yeah. Rachel stood. I'm going to say goodbye. To him. To all of it. Then I'm driving west and not looking back. You want to come to Oregon? To say goodbye. I stood too. Walked to the grave with her. We stood there, two daughters of a man who'd shaped our lives in ways we were still discovering. I hate you for what you did, Rachel said to the headstone. But I also understand why you did it. You wanted to change the world. You just didn't care who you hurt along the way. My turn. I don't forgive you, but I'm letting you go. Whatever you were, whatever you did, it's over now. You don't get to haunt me anymore. We walked back to the car together. Oregon sounds nice, I said. You should visit sometime. Maybe I will. She hugged me, tight and fierce. We survived, Maya. Despite everything he put us through, we survived. We did. She got in her car. Drove away. I stood alone in the cemetery, watching her taillights disappear. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. It always did. Hello. Static. Then a voice I hadn't expected to hear. Jonathan Reeves. Maya. Don't hang up. How did you get this number? You're supposed to be in prison. I am in prison. But prisons have phones. And I have a message you need to hear. I don't need to hear anything from you. It's about Phoenix. The real Phoenix. Not the weapons. Not the corporate conspiracy. The original vision. What your father and I dreamed about in college before everything went wrong. I don't care about your dreams. You should. Because they're not dead. The government seized the patents, yes. But they can't seize the idea. And there are people out there, brilliant people, who want to finish what we started. Build clean energy systems that actually work. Actually help people. But they need someone to lead them. Someone who understands the technology and the cost. And you think that's me? I think you're David Collins's daughter. You have his mind, his determination, his ability to see what others can't. You could finish his work the right way. Without the manipulation. Without the murder. Just the science and the hope. Why would you help me? Because I'm dying, Maya. Cancer. 3 months, maybe less. And I've spent the last 6 months in a cell thinking about my legacy. It's not going to be the empire I built. That's gone. It's going to be the choice I make now. Do I die a villain, or do I die doing one good thing? I was quiet for a long time. What are you offering? Access to everything I know about Phoenix. The technical details the government classified. The mistakes we made and how to avoid them. A chance to actually build the future your father wanted before he twisted it into something ugly. In exchange for what? Tell the world I helped you. Tell them Jonathan Reeves, in the end, did one thing right. It won't change my sentence. Won't erase what I did. But maybe it'll mean something to someone. Maybe it'll count for something. I thought about it. About spending my life looking backward at trauma, or forward at possibility. I'll think about it, I said. Don't think too long. Like I said, I don't have much time. And neither does the world. Climate change isn't waiting for us to sort out our family drama. He hung up. I stood there in the cemetery, holding a phone call from a dying billionaire, standing on my father's grave, facing a choice that would define the rest of my life. Behind me was everything I'd lost. The lies. The pain. The betrayal. Ahead was uncertainty. But also possibility. I could walk away. Build a normal life. Forget about Phoenix and patents and the weight of trying to save a world that might not want saving. Or I could step forward. Take what my father and Reeves had built and burned, and build something better from the ashes. The choice was mine. For the first time in my life, actually mine, I turned away from the grave. Started walking toward the parking lot. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. The backup drive your father mentioned. The one under the cabin floorboards. It doesn't just have evidence. It has the complete Phoenix 2.0 specifications. Everything you'd need to build it. If you're interested, coordinates are attached. I stopped walking, looked back at the grave. One last manipulation? One last trick from beyond death? Or a genuine gift from a father who, for all his flaws, really had wanted to change the world? I didn't know, but I was going to find out. I got in my car, plugged the coordinates into my GPS. 6 hours north. Deep in the mountains where my father had spent his final years. The cabin would be there. And the drive. And the choice. As I drove out of the cemetery, I passed a billboard. An advertisement for Reeves Corporation's bankruptcy auction. Everything being sold to the highest bidder. Including, presumably, whatever future Phoenix might have had. Unless someone claimed it first. I pressed the accelerator. The road stretched ahead, dark and uncertain. Behind me, in that cemetery, 2 graves held 2 versions of truth. My father's and Jennifer Martinez's. The genius and his victim. The visionary and the woman who'd loved him and died for it. I carried both stories now. The weight of what had been done and the responsibility of what came next. Some people say you can't escape your past. That family and blood and history chain you to who you were. But I'd learned something in the last 6 months. You can't escape your past, but you can choose what you do with it. You can let it define you or you can define yourself. I was Maya Collins. Daughter of a murderer. Sister to a co-conspirator. Pawn in a game I hadn't known I was playing. But I was also myself. Separate from all that. Capable of my own choices. And I was choosing to drive into the mountains and see what my father had left behind. Not because I forgave him. Not because I wanted to fulfill his vision. But because the world needed clean energy more than it needed my anger. And if I could take something broken and make it work, if I could turn a weapon into a tool, if I could build instead of destroy, then maybe all the pain meant something. Maybe Jennifer Martinez and her unborn child hadn't died for nothing. Maybe my mother's years of grief served a purpose. Maybe Rachel and I breaking into facilities and running from helicopters and facing down a billionaire added up to more than just trauma. Maybe we'd been heroes after all. Just not the kind the stories talk about. The kind who survive the truth and keep going anyway. The GPS beeped. 3 hours to destination. I settled in for the drive. Somewhere ahead, in a cabin in the mountains, was a piece of technology that could power cities or destroy them. The same technology. The same science. What mattered was who held it and what they chose to do. I thought about Reeves in his cell, dying of cancer, trying to buy redemption with information. I thought about my father, brilliant and broken, loving and murderous. I thought about Rachel, driving west to start over. And I thought about myself, driving north to face one more secret. The road curved through forests. Stars appeared overhead. My phone rang. Mom's number. I answered. Maya. Hey, Mom. You're not coming to see me, are you? Not today. But soon. I promise. That's what you said last month. I know. I'm sorry. I just need time. She was quiet for a moment. I'm dying, baby. Time is the one thing we don't have. I know. And we'll talk. About everything. About Dad and Jennifer and all the lies. But first I need to do something. What? Finish what he started. The right way this time. Maya, please. Let it go. Don't let his obsession become yours. It's not his obsession. It's mine. He used me, Mom. Turned me into a tool. But now I'm taking that tool and using it for something real. Something good. And if it goes wrong, if you become like him, then at least I'll know I tried. And I'll have you and Rachel to pull me back. If you're willing. She was crying. I could hear it in her breathing. I never wanted this life for you. I wanted you safe. Normal. happy. I know. But that ship sailed the day I saw that portrait. There's no going back to normal. Only forward to something new. Then promise me something. What? Don't die for this. Whatever you find in those mountains, whatever you decide to build, don't sacrifice yourself for it. Your father did that. Made his work more important than his family. Don't repeat his mistakes. I won't. I promise. I love you, Maya. I love you too, Mom. I hung up. GPS showed 2 hours remaining. I drove through the night, alone with my thoughts and the ghosts of everyone who'd brought me here. And somewhere ahead, in a cabin under floorboards, was either salvation or damnation. I'd know soon enough which. So let me ask you this. If you had the chance to finish someone else's dream, knowing it had destroyed lives and shattered families, would you take it? Would you risk becoming what you hate to create something beautiful? Because that's the choice Maya's facing. And when she reaches that cabin, when she finds that drive, when she sees the complete specifications for Phoenix 2.0, she's going to have to decide. Build it and risk repeating history. Or destroy it and let the dream die forever. There's no right answer. Only the answer she can live with. And that answer is waiting in the mountains. In a cabin built by a man who loved his daughters enough to protect them and evil enough to murder for his ambition. The road curved one final time. The GPS announced, "You have arrived at your destination." I pulled to a stop in front of a dark cabin surrounded by trees. Got out of the car. Stood there in the cold mountain air, looking at the place where my father had spent his final years. The door was locked, but I found the key where the GPS coordinates said it would be. Under the third stone from the left. I opened the door, stepped inside, and found myself face to face with something I hadn't expected. Not a backup drive. Not technical specifications. But a person. Sitting in the dark cabin. Waiting. Someone who should have been dead. Someone whose face I'd only seen in photographs. Jennifer Martinez. Very much alive. And smiling. "Hello, Maya," she said. "We need to talk about your father. And what he created." The door slammed behind me. And I realized this wasn't over. It was just beginning.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.